Good evening, everyone. I am happy to present my talk on special procedure for assessment of search cases, which is applicable new search assessment procedures, which is effective from 1st September 2024. Next 1 hour is allotted to me. We will conclude the session by 6 o'clock, but before that, I will keep some time reserved for question answers. Whenever you have any question, you can put it in question and answers box. Then first I will complete my presentation. Then after that, I will take up question answers. So let us begin with this. Now, the synopsis of today's my presentation will be like this. I will be taking you through the assessment of section 158B to 158BI, assessment of total income as a result of search, definitions, computation of total income of block period, procedure for block assessments, undisclosed income of any other person, the person other than who has been searched, and time limit for completion of block assessment, levy of interest and penalty in certain cases where the interest and penalty is leviable and where the interest and penalty is not leviable. Then what are the authorities competent to make the assessment for block period, and the application of other provisions of Income Tax Act, to what extent it is applicable, and in which circumstances this chapter is not applicable. Now, I am not taking to all the definitions. Looking at the constraint of the time, I am taking only the important definitions under this chapter. Now, first, what is block period? The block period has been defined here as 6 assessment years, preceding the previous year in which the search was initiated. 6 assessment years preceding the previous year in which the search was initiated, and it also includes the period starting from 1st April of the previous year in which the search was initiated and ending on the execution of last authorizations of such search. Now, there have been several changes from time to time in the search assessments procedures. I am not referring to earlier things, because if I start referring to earlier things, it may consume more time, and there is a chance of getting confused also, because some of the things have been minutely modified in the new assessment procedures. So I will be restricting my talk to the provisions of the new search assessment procedures only. Now, this is the example I have taken for the period of block period. Suppose the date of search is 15 September 2024 and the date of execution of last warrant of authorization is 10/11/2024. Now, the block period for this will be from 1/4/2018 to 31/3/24, consisting of 6 preceding years and this one, and 1/4/2024 to 10/11/2024. 1/4/2024 to 10/11. All these 6 plus running year will form part of the block assessment. Now, what is undisclosed income here? Undisclosed income here means it includes money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable article or thing, or any incorrect expenditure, incorrect deduction, or incorrect allowance claimed by the assessee. Then any undisclosed income based on any entry in the books of accounts. Then any document or transactions which represents undisclosed income or property. These are the points these are the assets or entries or the expenditure or income which is included or which is considered as undisclosed income for the purpose of block assessment. Now, assessment of total income. Now, the assessing officer shall assess the total income, including the undisclosed income. The assessing officer will assess the total income, including the undisclosed income. Now, what is the undisclosed income? We have already discussed. Then, It will include money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable article or thing, or any expenditure, or any income based on any entry in the books of accounts, or any documents, or any transactions, or any expenses, deduction, or allowance claimed under this act, which is found to be incorrect. So, the assessing officer will assess the income, including the undisclosed income for the block period 6+1. 6+ part of the block. Now, pending regular assessments will get abated. Whenever a search is conducted, then any assessments, if it is remaining pending, in the case of SSC, on whose case pending, first I will take this. Pending assessments will get abated. Whenever any assessment is pending on the date of conducting of the search, any assessment like 143.3, 147 is pending, 143.3 or 147. If it is pending, then that assessment will get abated. Completed assessments will not get abated. Pending assessments will get abated. But where in the case of assessee, in whose case second search is conducted and the assessment of first search is pending, that will not get abated. Assessee in whose case subsequent searches, such assessment be duly completed. Assessment of first search will be completed separately, then assessment of second search will be conducted. There is a difference here. Next. Now, if any proceedings initiated under this chapter or any order of assessment or reassessment made under so and so has been annulled in appeal, right? If any proceedings, search proceedings are annulled in appeal or other illegal proceedings, then the abated assessment shall get revived. If the search proceedings are annulled in appeal for any reason, then the assessments which got abated 143.3 or 140 shall get revived. Now, when suppose next is provided that such revival cease to effect if such order is the search assessment is annulled, the abated assessment will revive. And if the search assessment is again revived, then again this pending assessments will get abated. In short, one of the two assessments will survive in any situation. Either the regular assessment or search assessment will survive. Now, the total income for the remaining period. Now, in my earlier example, I have taken this 10th November as the date of last authorization. So, execution of last warrant of authorization. So, the search assessment will be conducted as a block period up to 10/11. But from 11/11 to 31st March 2025, that income will be assessed as a regular income under the other provisions of the Act, not under the Chapter 14B. Now, what is the rate of tax here is 60% for the block period. Now, rate of tax for the block assessment is 60% for all the years, standard 60%. Though there is a provision of charging surcharge also, but at present, there is no surcharge specified for the block period. So, the straightaway the tax will be restricted to 60%. Now, the computation part. Now, computation means undisclosed income shall be computed in accordance with the provisions of this Act on the basis of evidence found as a result of this search. Whatever is evidence found after the search is conducted, the assessment will be made in accordance with that. Or even if survey is conducted in consequence of search, that information or that evidence is also considered for the purpose of making the block assessment. Then such other material or information as are either available with the assessing officer or come to his notice by any means during the course of proceedings under the said chapter, under the chapter 14b. Now, the evidence found as a result of the search or result of the survey conducted in consequence of the search or any other material information which are either available with the assessing officer or comes to his notice during the course of proceedings. All these things will be covered under the undisclosed income for the purpose of computation under this chapter. Now, if, as I told earlier, I am not referring to old provisions and all controversies and what is right, what is wrong. What I feel is that we are the readers of the law. So I should read the law and communicate the law in the form in which it is. So I am not touching upon the earlier thing which I also told earlier. Now, if there is a loss in the year, this loss cannot be set off against the income, undisclosed income of the block period. Loss cannot be set off against the undisclosed income of the block period. Then brought forward loss also from the previous year or unabsorbed depreciation also shall not be set off against the undisclosed income determined in the block assessment under this chapter. Not only the current year of loss of the current year, but also if there is any brought forward loss is there, that also, or brought forward depreciation loss is also there, that also is not allowed to be set off in the block assessment. But the same loss which is not allowed to be set off against the undisclosed income of the block period can be carried forward for the remaining period of time. Now, procedure for block assessment. Now, when any search has been initiated, the assessing officer shall issue notice to such person to furnish his return within a period of 60 days. The assessing officer is required to issue a notice under this section 158 BC to the assessee, asking him to furnish the return, giving him reasonable time, but the time should not be given for more than 60 days, right? What? To submit the return of income verified in the prescribed manner and prescribed setting forth is in total income including the undisclosed income of the block period. Now, such return shall be considered as the return filed under section 139 if it is filed in time, and notice under section 132 for 143(2) shall thereafter be issued. Now, this return which is filed consequence to issue of notice under 158 BC is deemed to have been filed under 139, and as it is deemed to have been filed under 139, it is mandatory to issue notice under 143(2) before proceeding to assess the income, right? Now, if the return is not filed within the specified time, suppose the time allowed is 60 days or 30 days, suppose the time allowed is 30 days, and if the return is not filed within 30 days, if it is filed on 31st day or beyond the time allowed, then the return is not considered to have been filed under 139, right? The notice and the return is not considered to have been filed under section 139. Now, to make it clear, it has been specified that when the assessment is made for the earlier years in block assessment cases, notice under section 148 is not required to be issued. There is no provision required for issue of notice under 148. Another important thing is that the return filed under this section cannot be revised. So it has to be very careful when filing the return of income, preparation and filing of return of income, because the return is to be filed timely, within the specified time and correctly, because the delay will result in heavy consequences, which I'll deal in my later slides, and there is no scope of filing the revised return of income. The consequences are severe, as I told, which I will deal in the later slides. Now, the provisions of section 142, then 143, 2 and 3, 144, 145, 145A and 145B, all will be applicable to the block assessments. It will all be applicable to the block assessments. Now, the return filed in response to notice under section 158 BC is not required to be processed. 143(1) provisions are not applicable here. And further, the faceless assessment scheme provisions are not applicable for such assessments, search assessments. It will be a physical assessment. So the faceless proceedings are not applicable. Now, undisclosed income of any other person. Any other person means the person who is not searched. 158 BC relates to a person whose case the search is conducted. 158 BD provisions are related to a person in whose case search is not conducted, but material is found relating to that person. Suppose the search is conducted under 158, conducted with in the premises of A. So A is covered under 158 BC, and if any material is found in respect of B, so B case is covered under section 158 BD. Now, 158 BD, where the assessing officer is satisfied that any undisclosed income belongs to or pertains to or relates to. There can be a lot of discussion on these points, but as I said, that we are restricting it to the limited procedures, and because there will be so much discussion relating to this belongs to, pertains to and relates to. So where the assessing officer is satisfied that any undisclosed income belongs to or pertains to or relates to any person other than the person with respect to whom the search was made, then any money, bullion, jewelry, or other valuable article or thing, or assets, or expenditure, or books of accounts, or other documents, or any information contained therein seized or requisitioned shall be handed over to the assessing officer having jurisdiction over such person, and the assessing officer shall proceed under 158 BC against that person. Whatever was covered under the definition of undisclosed income for the person in whose case search is conducted, all those things are covered for the persons covered under 158 BD. And once any of this material or thing or information is found in respect of B, in the case of A, so the assessing officer of A should hand over the material or information to the assessing officer of B, and the assessing officer B will initiate the proceedings as per section 158 BC in the case of B also. This is the 158 BD. Now, what is the time limit for completion of block assessment? Now, time limit for completion of block assessment in case of searched person, it will be 12 months from the end of the month in which the last of authorizations for search under 132 was executed. 12 months, the time is very limited this time. The time is 12 months from the end of the month in which the last of authorizations was conducted. Now, suppose the date of execution of last warrant of authorization is 10/11/24. So, the last date for completion will be 30/11/2025. Now, there will not be time barring dates for search assessments like in March or December. Those dates will not be clashing with the search block assessments. These block assessments will have a different time barring dates depending upon the conducting of search and execution of last warrant of authorization. Now, time limit, this I have dealt with the time limit for searched assessee, A. Now, what is the time limit of completion of search assessments, block assessments in case of B? It will be 12 months from the end of the month in which the notice under 158BC in pursuance of 158BD was issued. This will be 12 months from the issue of notice. Now, suppose the issue of notice was on 5/1/2025. Last date for completion will be 31st January 2026. It will be 12 months from the date of issue of notice, right? Now, this date can be further extended for a period of 180 days. Maximum 180 days, this date of completion of search assessments in such cases can be extended by another 180 days. Now, this is another important thing. Certain interest and penalties not to be levied or imposed under section 158 BF. It is covered. Now, no interest under the provisions of 234A, 234B, 234C. When in the case of this new block assessments, when the tax is levied at 60%, then the interest under 234A, 234B and 234C will not be levied. Let it be there for 4 years earlier, 5 years earlier, 6 years earlier, any year, because practically we see that some of the cases, the interest will become more than the tax component. But once the assessments are made under block assessments, interest under section 234A, 234B and 234C will not be levied. Now further, penalty under section 270A also will not be levied. Penalty under section 270A will also not be levied. Now, what is levied? What interest and penalty is levied and when it is levied? Now, when the total return of total income is not furnished within the time specified in notice or is not furnished. As I told earlier that the assessing officer is giving 30 days time for furnishing the return. Now, suppose the return is furnished on 31st day or the return is not furnished. Furnished after the due date specified in the notice or not furnished. Then what happens? The assessee shall be liable to pay interest at the rate of 1.5%. 1.5% for every month or part of the month comprising the period immediately expiring the date of notice and ending on the date of assessment. Now you see that how important it is to file the return within the specified time. Within the specified time. If the return is filed late even by 1 day or it is not filed, interest will be levied at the rate of 1.5% from the expiry of the time allowed till the date of assessment. So there is much problem on this side if the return is not filed in time. Now, this doesn't stop here. Now, then if the assessed income is more than the returned income, undisclosed assessed income is more than the undisclosed returned income. The tax rate I said 60%, but when the undisclosed income determined by the assessing officer, assessed by the assessing officer is more than the income, undisclosed income returned. Suppose the undisclosed income returned is 100 rupees and the undisclosed income assessed is 150 rupees. So on that excess 50 rupees, penalty equal to 50% of tax will be leviable. 50% of tax means 30%. So tax and penalty will be 60 plus 30, 90%. If the undisclosed income is not returned properly in the return of income, then this penalty will be leviable. Now, provided that no order imposing penalty under section 158 BFA, this 30% will not be levied. Under which circumstances that I will take now. Now, this penalty will not be levied, and 271 AAD, penalty for false entry in the books of accounts, or penalty for acceptance of loan, 269 contravention of 269 SS under section 271D, or section 271DA relating to contravention of section 269 T, repayment of loans, or 271E relating to contravention of section 269 ST or cash transactions. All this penalty shall not be levied. When it shall not be levied, there are some conditions. What are those conditions? If the assessee satisfies these conditions, then all these penalties also will not be levied. Interest will not be levied, and all these penalties also will not be levied. What are these penalties? I have told already. Now, in what situation it will not be levied? If such person has furnished a return under section 158 BC within the time specified in the notice. Now, here also, filing of return within the time specified is very important. Within the time specified is, otherwise, not only penalty under BFA or other sections also can be levied, right? So, such person, if it will not be levied if such person has furnished a return under section 158 BC within the time specified in the notice, and the tax payable on the basis of such return has been paid. Tax due on that return has been paid, or if there is any seizure of any money and the assessee requested that money to be adjusted against the tax payable, either the tax is paid or there is a seizure of money, assessee has requested to adjust the money against the tax payable, then condition 3 is the evidence of tax payment is furnished along with the return and the appeal is not filed against the assessment, right? So, against the assessment. Now, if these 4 conditions are satisfied, then there will not be any penalty also. Now, where the undisclosed income returned by an assessee is in excess of income shown in the return, as I told, that penalty shall be imposed only on that portion of the income which is determined by the officer, which is in excess of the amount shown in the return. Now, which is the authority competent to make the assessment of block period? Now, the order of assessment of the block period should be passed by an assessing officer, not below the rank of deputy commissioner or assistant commissioner or deputy director or assistant director, as the case may be. Now, the ITO is excluded from making this assessment. Above the ITO, assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner and assistant director or deputy director or any authority above them. Just ITO is the assessing authority who has been excluded from making the assessment for block period. Now, previous approval of the additional commissioner. Previous approval of the additional commissioner. The notice under section 158 BC, which is requiring to furnish the return of income for the block period, as well as the assessment order for the block period, shall be issued or passed with the previous approval of additional commissioner or additional director or joint commissioner or joint director. Not only the order, but the notice also should be issued with the previous approval of the additional commissioner or joint commissioner, as the case may be. Now, this is also very important. Notice is also required to be issued with the previous approval of the additional commissioner. Now, applications of other provisions of this Act. Now, other provisions of the Act shall apply to the assessment made in this chapter, which are not covered here. All other provisions are whatever is specified here in this chapter will apply to that extent, and whatever is not applied, not specified here, those provisions as contained in income tax shall apply to the assessment made under this chapter. Now, this chapter will not apply to certain circumstances. Where it will not be applied to this, whenever a search is conducted or a requisition was made before first day of September 2024, then these provisions will not be applicable. If you have any other questions on this, I will take that. You can just communicate through the question and answers or chat box. Now, this is the final thing. What is there regarding this tax, interest and penalty? Now, if the return is filed in time and tax is paid and all those conditions which are I told that are specified, then the tax rate will be 60%. And as of now, there is no surcharge, no interest, no penalty. If the return, the income is total undisclosed income is disclosed, and no prosecution, no other penalties. So somehow in some cases, it will appear that when compared to this present search assessments and the proposed this assessment and the previous search assessments, in some cases, there may be some situations, depending upon the case to case, we may see that if the assessment is made under block assessment, it will be much beneficial to the assessee than the assessments if it is made under the reopened assessment. Now, there can be a situation where a case is reopened for the assessment year, suppose 2021 under 147. And if it is pending on the date of conduct of search, it will get abated. So the tax rate may be, depending upon case to case, in that case, it may be lesser if it is assessed under one block assessment when compared to the fact that if it would have been assessed under 147, then it would have been more, the tax, interest and penalties would have been more than this search assessments. So depending upon case to case, we have to see that and advise that. Now, I will take question answers now. If you have any other questions also, you can keep putting. Survey conducted, now Mr. Manan Bora is asking that I have a question in case of survey conducted in earlier year. Is it mandatory that the reopening shall be done without application of NFAC scheme? I have survey conducted in earlier year. Is it mandatory that the reopening shall be done without application of national? Now, first I will take that when the survey is conducted, it will be as per the scrutiny guidelines issued from time to time. The survey cases will be scrutinized, right? The survey cases will be scrutinized. Compulsory scrutiny will be. But there are few situations where regularly we are getting in the guidelines that if the survey is conducted and if the income declared in survey is offered to tax, tax is paid, and there is no impounding of material, then the survey case also cannot be converted into scrutiny. So this is one situation. So where the survey, there is no impounding of material and the tax is paid and the return is filed, it will not be required to convert into scrutiny. Now, another question is, Mr. Saurabh Agarwal has put, can you explain the difference between search and survey? Yes. Search provisions are contained in section 132, whereas survey provisions are contained in 133A. Survey will be covered in survey, the premises, business premises will be covered, like the shop, factory, godown, and other business premises will be covered. Whereas in search, most of the time, all the premises can be covered, whether it is a residential premises or business premises, whichever is required to be covered, it will be covered. So this is the basic difference. As I told that, now there will be several differences regarding the recording of statement. Search statement under search is recorded under 132(4), which is recorded on oath. A statement under section 133A is not recorded on oath. So there is a difference in evidentiary value of both the statements. The statement recorded under survey will not have evidentiary value, whereas the statement recorded under search, which is recorded on oath by administering oath, is having the evidentiary value. And similarly, the statement recorded under 131 is also having the evidentiary value. So what it is generally done is, the survey, after the conduct of survey under section 133A, the officer will issue summons to the assessee to appear before him either next day or day after, and 131 again the statement will be recorded. Now the statement recorded under 131 is again on oath. So there will be reiteration of what is told under 133A when the statement recorded under 131. So by recording the statement under 131, in continuation or later to 133A, will strengthen the evidentiary value of the statement. So these are the things. I can talk more also on this, but we generally restrict it to our time. That is why if you have anything specific, you can write. Meanwhile, I'll just address some other questions. You can write if you have anything other than this specific. Now, there is a question that I have a question in case of survey conducted in earlier year. Is it this I have already covered? Can you explain the difference? In both the questions I have covered. I think they have put it in chat box as well as in question answers now. Now there is a question that in my case, jurisdictional assessing officer issued the 148 notices. However, it should have been issued by the faceless authority. Would that be valid? Very good question. He or she has not written the name, but now the specific question has come. Now, see, I am speaking from Hyderabad, which is covered under Telangana. In Telangana High Court, the High Court has given a judgment in favor of the assessee. What judgment? When the notice is issued under 148 by the jurisdictional assessing officer and the assessment has done by the faceless assessing officer, it is invalid and the assessment has got quashed. Now, later to that, what happened? Different high courts have given similar judgment also, and few high courts have given some other judgment also that it cannot be quashed. So now the matter is pending before the Supreme Court. So this is the present situation. This is a very good question. If you can put such questions, then it will become the interesting thing to discuss. Very nice. You put your name, I should know that good question you have put. Appropriate question in the appropriate time. Now, Mr. Harish Saraf has asked you, can you tell about the penalty on undisclosed income? Yes. Penalty on undisclosed income, if the undisclosed income is returned in the return of income and tax is paid, I discussed the other, all other conditions, no? There is no penalty. There is no penalty. By paying 60%, everything is over. There is no penalty. But if the assessee is not disclosing the total undisclosed income, If the assessing officer has assessed the undisclosed income more than the assessee, suppose, as I told earlier, if the undisclosed income returned by the assessee is 100 rupees and the assessing officer has assessed the undisclosed income at 120. So on 20 rupees, there will be a penalty of 30%. That is 50% of the tax, 50% of 60%. That is 30%. So the penalty under section 158 BFA will be 50% of that. So 10 rupees will be penalty. 10 will be penalty. On 30 rupees will be penalty. On 20 rupees, 30% will be penalty. I repeat to avoid the confusion that if the assessed income is 120, if the returned undisclosed income is 100, penalty under BFA will be levied on 20 rupees at the rate of 30%. So it can be 6 rupees. Right. Good question. Now, I will move to other question. Now, again, he is not writing the name and putting good questions. Sir, what are your views on 1516 reopening notice with respect to TOLA and Finance Act 2020? This will take a lot of discussion. This will take, you can just send me an email later on. I will, because this will take a lot of discussion. So if there is any question on relating to search and seizure survey, we will restrict to that. That will be better. Though your question is very pertinent and very useful, but we will discuss it some other. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to ask anything? Right. I think I have already all covered everything. Survey, search procedure, conducting of search, though my presentation is restricted to search assessments, but you can ask anything from conducting of survey till the completion of search assessments and issues in search assessments, issues in survey. Those things also I can cover now, right? Yes, I think I have covered everything. There are no questions also. Whatever questions are also there, I have covered. So shall we stop here? We'll stop here.
Thank you, CA Hari Agarwal, for enriching our
Yes.
understanding with your insightful
Yes,
presentation.
because I wanted to finish in time.
All right, so that's fine.
Right.
Like we still have time left, like if you want to answer any of the questions.
Yes, if there is any question also, I can cover. And this also I can elaborate on survey, search and seizure again. I can go back and elaborate on survey, search and seizure.
So whatever seems fine to you, like
yes,
you can surely.
I will elaborate on survey, search
Please,
and seizure.
Sure, sir.
Now,
Sure, sir.
some of the important things I will tell the statement. Whenever a statement is recorded, either under survey or search, the assessee is entitled to get the copy of the statement, right? But there will be confusion that what the assessee expects that immediately after the survey is conducted or the search is conducted, he will approach to his regular chartered accountant or advocate, whosoever is handling his case, and the CA will ask for the statement copy, and the copy of the statement is applied to the department by way of writing a letter and paying the copying charges. But the statement copy is not issued to him immediately. So there will be lot of confusion. There is lot of confusion that why it is not given to them immediately after they apply for the copy. Now the provisions relating to this or the copy of the statement is the assessee is entitled to receive the copy of the statement, but the department is required to issue the copy of the statement before it is used against the assessee. It is not that immediately after the application made by the assessee, the copy is mandatory to be issued to the assessee. It is to be issued to the assessee, but before it is used against him, not immediately. So this is one thing where we come across several questions on this. Second, several people will ask for whether the chartered accountant can be present during survey or search. Chartered accountant or auditor can be present, or should he be present during the survey or search? Now, as per, in my opinion, since there is no restriction on entry or exit of any person during the survey or search, entry, exit and presence of any person, he can enter, he can be present, he can come out of the premises also. But practically what happens, if the chartered accountant is interfering with the proceedings, that is not permitted. He can be an observer to the proceedings, but he cannot interfere with the proceedings. Now, normally what happens, whenever a chartered accountant is present in that premises, he will start educating the assessee or communicating with the assessee verbally or with eye contact, and that is not acceptable. That should not be done. So that is where the objection is for his presence or his remaining in the premises. So what I have experienced over a period of time is that chartered accountant should not immediately rush to the search premises and force for his entry into that. He should wait for some time, because let the physical inventory be taken out of the stock or cash, or let the search proceedings be completed. Means the search proceedings is relating to all valuations and other things of the stock and inventories, let it get completed. Then we may definitely have to come out of the figure of excess stock or shortage stock when compared to books of accounts. Now, suppose a search is conducted today. So today is suppose 18th December, search is conducted. So whatever inventory is taken, that has to be compared with the stock or inventory shown by the stock shown by the books of accounts. Now, for this purpose, the books of accounts are to be compiled from 1st April 2004 till 17th December 2024. Now, here the chartered accountant's need will arise. So, at that time, he can be available. He will be, most of the time, he will be asked to be present for ensuring that proper compilation or proper arriving of figure of stock is made till the date of search from the first day of financial year. And then whatever figures are quantified, it is properly or correctly brought it to the statement. So at that time, there will be a good need of chartered accountant, and the presence of chartered accountant will be fruitful. But that also I advise that when they are called by the department officials, then only it is proper to go there to avoid any misunderstandings between the officer and the chartered accountants and the assessee. And he should not interfere while recording the statement also. He should not interfere in any other proceedings, right? Now, many people will ask that whether a chartered accountant, when he is present, if he is told to sign as a witness, whether he should sign as a witness or not. Now, my experiences have been that on many occasions I have been physically present during the conduct of search, but there was no occasion where the officer conducting the search has asked me to sign as a witness. What I feel is that practically that is not that situation will not arise, because the witnesses will be selected for conducting the survey or search at the beginning of the search, and the same witnesses will be there till the conclusion of survey or search. Chartered accountant is entering the premises only after some time, and he will be there only for the some time. So that is a good question, but it is many times it is an hypothetical one. Practically, this situation is not arising. Now, one question is there, again I will say, whether 60% rate of tax is on total income or no, it is on undisclosed income only. Total income, there will be two, the income will be computed in the two part. Regular income will be, see that if I can just recollect the return of income which was there notified under the block assessment which was introduced earlier, 97 I believe. So at that time that there will be a different return of income, not this return of income, which will contain two columns. One column will be regular income, one column will be undisclosed income. So only undisclosed income will be taxed at 60%, not the regular income. Good. Now there is an 3 times same question is there. Right. So this is one. Right. So something more. What is the time now? It is 5:55. Another 5 minutes we can speak. So coming back to survey. I will take one point here. This in case of search, whenever jewelry is found, this is May 1995, there is a circular where this VP Singh sir was the finance minister at that time. Then a circular was issued where the assessee was allowed to hold, the department was told not to seize a reasonable quantity of the jewelry. Where the assessee has disclosed the jewelry by way of wealth tax return or otherwise, that is cannot be seized. And even if he has not disclosed any jewelry earlier, then in case of married lady, 500 grams, in case of unmarried girl, 250 grams, and in case of male person, 100 grams. This much quantity of gold ornaments cannot be seized. This is one thing which I can just put it here. Now there are another 1 or 2 questions. Now tax in block period shall be chargeable at the 60%, right? That shall be increased by surcharge. As I told that it will be increased by surcharge, but surcharge at present is nil, 0. Surcharge is 0. Section 113 mentions that total income and the word undisclosed income has been omitted. Please guide if the tax rate of 60% on undisclosed income. No, it is on undisclosed income. I am clear on this point. Section 113, which you are referring, I not readily am not having handy that, but I am sure this tax rate will be 60% on the undisclosed income, not on the, because that income is already assessed and tax is already paid on that. But you see the definition of undisclosed income is also very broad. So that undisclosed income only, it is to be taxed at 60%. Right? Now, again, survey search, what else I can take is seizure of jewelry, presence copy, seizure of jewelry. Additions cannot be made merely on the basis of statement unless there is a corroborative evidence, whether it is in the survey or search. So additions in survey or search can be made only on the basis of corroborative evidence, not merely on the basis of statement, right? So in this respect, the circulars have been issued by the department 2 times, whereby the department is asking its officers not to have coercive disclosures of income, not to harass and have the coercive disclosure of income without corroborative evidence. Their focus is to gather the information rather than have a disclosures forceful disclosures. So there are two circulars in this respect. One is 2016 and one I don't remember the year. Two circulars are there in this respect. 2014 and two circulars are there, right? So this is one of the thing which is relevant for today. Now, any other question? Can you elaborate on the retraction of sworn statement? Wow. Retraction can be done only with where there is a valid reason for it, and it is to be done with evidence and as early as possible. As early as possible. Whenever the statement is recorded and the assessee feels that statement is not recorded, he should retract the statement as early as possible and with evidence. Now, what is as early? On this also we can elaborately speak. But again, looking at the time constraint, I will say that if the as early is depending upon the facts and circumstances of the each case. Now, as early as can be second day, as early as can be second day, next day of getting this copy of statement, or few days after getting the copy of sworn statement, as early as depends upon several circumstances. So as early as it should be retracted with proper evidence. Now, one more case question is there. Can search be extended to premises of CA when it is conducted? Now, search can be extended to the premises of CA. It cannot be extended either survey or search. It has to be by separate warrant of authorization. It cannot be extended merely by that. There should be separate warrant of authorization in chartered accountant's premises. Now, when this question will come, always it will come. When this situation will come? Now, most of the time, suppose in mid-September search is conducted. The books of accounts of the assessee for the previous year will be lying with the chartered accountant's office. Now, if the assessee provides the books of accounts to the department officials in his premises, by getting it from the chartered accountant's office, I don't think that there will be any need for extending the survey or search to the chartered accountant's office. Again, this is a very good question, but very rare cases it will be extended to the chartered accountant office. And if the client is providing all the information in his premises itself, then there will not be any situation to extend the chartered account. And even if chartered accountant's office is covered by way of separate warrant of authorization, the information taken by the department official will be restricted only to the case of the assessee, in which case the department is coming. It will not be the, suppose I have 500 clients and search is conducted in one of the clients, and during consequent to that search, a separate warrant is issued in my name as search is conducted. The department will not take the total information of all my 500 clients and use it against those clients. That will not be done. So that is the situation. Now I think it is already 6 o'clock. Shall we stop now? Right. Thank you. Thank you for your listening. And I'm thankful to the Taxmann for giving me the opportunity. I also learned during this process so many things. If you have any other question, you can communicate to me later on by way of email or through Taxmann. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.